Do you ever grab a carton thinking, it's just beer, how complicated can it be? In Australia, beer is also recalls, marketing rule complaints, and even cases where the local craft story was challenged by regulators. Today, we're counting down 7 beer brands Australians should avoid, based on the evidence. And by the end, you'll have 3 genuinely better picks, plus a simple checklist so you can shop with confidence. Let's start with number 7. Number 7. Uberbrau Ultra Low Alcohol Lager, sold through Liquorland, First Choice Liquor Market, and Coles Online in WA. If you've seen Uberbrau, you know the appeal. It looks like an easy, low alcohol option that feels safer for a weeknight. And for a lot of people, the price is the hook. Here's the issue though. On 17th April 2025, Food Standards Australia New Zealand published a recall for Uberbrau Ultra Low Alcohol Lager 330ml because of the presence of a chemical on the outer packaging, producing an unpleasant odour, and FSANZ warned contaminated food products may cause illness if consumed. That is not a minor annoyance. That's a quality control red flag on a product people buy specifically because it feels low risk. And the recall window matters too. It was sold in Western Australia between the 2nd of April 2025 and the 15th of April 2025. If you're thinking, but it's just the outside, remember what happens in real life. Packs sit in cars, fridges, eskies, hands, and if something smells off, you're already in the territory of, why are we even gambling on this? Bottom line, when the whole pitch is easy and clean, a chemical contamination recall is the opposite of the promise. Now let's move up, because the next one is part of the same story. Number 6, Henninger Lager Bottle 660ml, sold through Liquorland, First Choice Liquor Market, and Coles Online in WA. Henninger has that classic import lager vibe. It sounds established, familiar, and honestly, a lot of people trust the name because it feels old school and straightforward. But this one was tied to the exact same FSANZ recall notice, published 17 April 2025. Again, due to the presence of a chemical on the outer packaging. Again, with FSANZ warning that contaminated food products may cause illness if consumed. It also covered a very specific sales window in Western Australia, from 2nd April 2025 to 15 April 2025, which tells you this was not hypothetical. Something got into the supply chain and made it to shelves. And that's the part that's hard to ignore, because beer is packaged, sealed, and marketed as stable. When a recall like this lands, it's a reminder that even simple lager can be vulnerable to upstream handling, storage, or packaging processes you never see. If you've ever cracked a bottle and thought, that smell is weird, this is exactly why you should trust that instinct and stop. Not push through it because you paid for it. A bargain stops being a bargain when you're second guessing whether it's safe. Keep going, because number 5 is where the marketing story starts to matter as much as the liquid. Number 5, Byron Bay Pale Lager, associated with Carlton and United Breweries. This one is a perfect example of why packaging and storytelling matter, because Byron Bay doesn't just sound like a place, it signals small batch, coastal, independent, a certain kind of lifestyle. But in 2014, the ACCC accepted a court-enforceable undertaking from Carlton and United Breweries after concerns it represented Byron Bay Pale Lager as brewed by a small brewer in Byron Bay when this was not the case. Think about how specific that is. That's not a vague, some customers were confused. That is the competition regulator stepping in over the impression created in the market. And here's why it matters for you. When a brand leans on place-based identity, you're not just buying taste, you're buying values and provenance. If that story is shaky, it's fair to ask, what else is being dressed up? Even on big retailer sites, you'll see plenty of people describing it as easy drinking and fine. But the point of this list is not, does it go down smooth? It's, Does the brand earn your trust? If you want a Byron Bay beer, you deserve something that's actually honest about who made it and where. Next up, we're moving from marketing trust to a straight-up safety recall. Number 4. Little Creatures Little Hazy Lager, 375ml, Lion. Little Creatures is one of those brands people associate with the craft era, so it's easy to assume tighter care and better quality control. But on the 1st of November 2025, FSA&Z published a recall for Little Creatures Little Hazy Lager, 375ml, due to secondary fermentation. FSA&Z warned that affected cans may contain excess alcohol and carbonation, which can lead to overpressurization and cause the can to burst, potentially resulting in injury. The New South Wales Food Authority also published the recall notice the same day, listing availability across major retailers including Dan Murphy's and BWS in multiple states. This is the kind of recall that cuts through the noise because it's not about taste, it's about a physical hazard. And it also hits a nerve for anyone who buys multi-packs, stores them, takes them camping, throws them in an esky, because the risk travels with you. Add to that the broader consumer frustration you'll see around brand consistency. On product review, one reviewer complaining about Little Creatures Pale Ale wrote, "Awful, tastes like sour, bitter grapefruit," and described it as metallic and unpleasant. That's not scientific testing, but it does reflect a real consumer theme. Inconsistency is a trust killer. When a brand has both safety recalls and quality variability complaints floating around, it's reasonable to choose something steadier. Now, before we get to the top 3, here's a quick pause. Quick pause. If you're finding this information valuable and you're still with us, drop a comment with the number 3 so we know you're here. And if this is your first time watching, please consider subscribing and hitting that notification bell. It really helps us continue creating well-researched content like this. Alright, let's get back to it. Number 3, Forex, especially the high volume lines like Forex Gold. Forex is everywhere, and that's part of why it ends up on lists like this. When a beer is tied tightly to sport, big events, and constant promotion, it's not just competing on the liquid, it's competing by owning your attention. Over the years, Forex marketing has been the subject of multiple ABAC adjudications. For example, ABAC issued a determination covering Forex in-stadium activations during cricket in Determination 186-208/20, published in January 2021, focused on how the brand appeared during matches that were also watched on major broadcasts. Even when complaints are dismissed, the pattern matters. These campaigns are designed to be everywhere adults are, including environments that are hard to fully gate from younger audiences. This matters because it's not neutral. It normalizes beer belongs with every win, every moment, every weekend. And that pushes you toward higher frequency drinking without you even noticing. And from a value perspective, big mainstream lagers often give you the least interesting product for the most marketing-heavy price. If you love the taste, fine. But if you're buying it by habit, we'd seriously ask you to stop and choose more intentionally. Now let's talk about a brand that is basically woven into Aussie culture, and that's exactly why it needs scrutiny. Number 2, Carlton Draft, Carlton and United Breweries. Carlton Draft sits in that pub classic category, so it often feels harmless, familiar, and almost tradition-bound. But if you look at the advertising footprint, it's aggressively modern, especially online. ABAC Determination 3122, dated 19 May 2022, considered a complaint about a Carlton Draft ad served during a YouTube video titled "How I Cured Years of Depression Within Days," which immediately raises a concern about context and placement. Even when you set aside the legal outcome, the consumer takeaway is simple. You do not want alcohol ads orbiting mental health content because it blurs lines that should stay very clear. Carlton Draft has also been reviewed under ABAC's placement rules, like ABAC Adjudication 16221, dated 19 July 2021, which looked at product placement during a sponsored TV program. Again, the point is not to demonise a beer, it's to recognise a strategy. The more a brand leans on constant presence and cultural embedding, the more it relies on you not thinking too hard. If you want a classic lager, you've got options that don't need to chase you across every screen. And now we're at number 1, the one that proves how far iconic can drift into weirdly complicated. Number 1, Victoria Bitter. Victoria Bitter products under the Carlton and United Breweries umbrella. VB is practically a symbol at this point. That's why people buy it. It feels Australian. It feels simple. It feels like it's been around forever. But the marketing record tells you it's not just a beer, it's a carefully engineered brand, and it has repeatedly attracted scrutiny around how it's presented. One example is ABAC Determination 74A/16, published 8 September 2016, which examined VB's limited edition VB Blues packaging and associated promotion tied to state of origin. The complaint was raised by the Foundation for Alcohol Research and Education, and it focused on whether the packaging and promotion had strong appeal to minors due to sporting team role models and merchandising style elements. Separately, if you look at consumer feedback, VB is also a brand where people are very split. On product review, Victoria Bitter has an average rating around 2.9 out of 5 from dozens of reviews. And common complaints include it going flat quickly and tasting inconsistent carton to carton. None of that makes it dangerous, but it does make it a brand where the identity is doing more work than the product. And that's the key point for number 1. When the whole value is trust the legend, you can end up paying for nostalgia while accepting a product you wouldn't choose blind. So if VB is your default, this is your nudge to make it a choice again, not a reflex. Now that we've covered what to avoid, let's talk about 3 beers that are actually doing things better. Not perfect, nothing is, but these are picks that earn trust through independence, consistency, and a track record real drinkers keep backing. First better pick, Mountain Culture Status Quo Pale Ale. If you've been anywhere near Aussie craft beer conversations, you've heard this name. Mountain Culture's Status Quo topped the Gab's Hottest 100 list for 2024, which is a huge signal of sustained consumer love, not just a one-off trend. What makes it a better buy is that you're paying for brewing, not just marketing. Look for freshness dating and good cold storage at the bottle shop, because hop-forward beers fall off fast when they're old or warm. Buying tip: don't grab the dusty warm single by the register. Go for the cold section or a retailer with fast turnover. Second better pick, Cooper's Original Pale Ale. Cooper's is one of the rare big names that still gets respect from both mainstream and craft drinkers, and it landed near the very top of the Gab's Hottest 100 for 2024 as well. It's also easy to buy across Australia, which matters. The label tends to be straightforward, and you know what you're getting: a reliable pale ale with a long-standing recipe and loyal base. Look for clear packaging info and store it cold if you can, because even classic pale ale tastes better when it's fresh. Buying tip: if you're new to Cooper's, start with singles first, then commit to a carton once you know it's your style. Third better pick, Bent Spoke Crankshaft IPA. Bent Spoke's Crankshaft consistently shows up in top Aussie beer lists, including a strong placement in the Gab's Hottest 100 for 2024. It's bolder than the average lager, but that's exactly why it's a good alternative. You're actually tasting something. On the label, look for batch or date info and choose the newest you can find. Buying tip: if you're used to light lagers, pair it with food the first time. Burgers, barbecue, anything with salt and fat, and you'll get why people rate it. Now, here's the practical part, the quick way to spot problem beers when you're standing in the aisle. First, take local and craft vibes with a grain of salt. A place name on the label is not proof of where it was brewed, and the ACCC has literally taken action when a beer's branding created the wrong impression. If the origin story matters to you, check the fine print. Brewed by who and where? Second, watch for the marketing to liquid ratio. If a brand is everywhere, sports sponsorships, constant ads, influencer clips, it's not automatically bad, but it often means you're paying for distribution and promotion, not quality. A simple test is to compare price per standard drink. If two options cost the same, but one has a clear freshness date, clear brewery identity, and better reviews, choose that one. Third, check for recalls the smart way. If you're buying cartons regularly, follow Fazan's recall alerts, or even just Google Fazan's recall plus the brand once in a while. Recalls, like the little creature's secondary fermentation issue, are a reminder that packaging failures happen, and you don't want to discover that by having a can burst in your hand. Fourth, prioritize freshness and storage more than you think. Beer is sensitive to heat and time. Warm storage accelerates styling, and hop-driven styles fade quickly. If the can or bottle has a best before date, but no packaging date, that's still better than nothing. Choose the longest remaining window and buy from stores with cold stock and high turnover. Fifth, be realistic about drinking and health framing. No beer brand is healthy, and Australia's National Alcohol Guidelines, updated in 2020, recommend keeping it to no more than 10 standard drinks a week and no more than 4 on any one day. That's not moralising, it's context. If a marketing vibe makes beer feel like a wellness tool or a mood fix, that's exactly when you should step back. So there you have it, 7 beer brands we'd seriously consider skipping, and 3 better picks that are earning trust with real drinkers. The bigger lesson is that the system rewards massive marketing budgets and vague storytelling, and it counts on you not checking the details. But now you know what to look for: recalls, misleading origin, cues, aggressive placement strategies, and freshness signals. If this helped, hit like. It tells YouTube to show it to more people who want evidence-based shopping guides. Subscribe if you want more of these, and drop a comment. Which beer brand should we investigate next? Stay informed and shop smart.